I want to be sure to honor everybody's time, and we just got prompted to let us know that the meeting's going to be recorded. We'll be recording this and putting it up so that people that are in different time zones, people that had class today, people that had other things going on, are able to access this. We're putting our Global Cafe series up on our YouTube channel that ISSS has. And we're going to be able to push out through our WeChat, our WhatsApp, our Line, our Instagram. We'll put links to it on those social media platforms as well. But welcome, everyone. It's great to see your smiling faces on a Friday afternoon. My name's Abe Schaefermeyer. I'm the Director of International Student and Scholar Services at the University of Oregon. And I want to welcome you back to another Global Cafe session. Really excited for today's program. We've got some really cool guests that are joining us to speak from their own experience and from their expertise about how graduating from the University of Oregon and thinking about those next steps can be a really highly anticipated time in your life, but comes with, your own unique set of challenges and things that you have to think through in order to decide how to move on. We're going to be spending about an hour together today if you choose to stay with us. The first good bit, we're going to hear from our guests. We're going to hear about some of their experiences and their expertise. You may have seen their videos have been put up already through some of our social media campaigns about their experiences. And then at the end of the Global Cafe, as we usually do, we're going to split up into some breakout rooms. You'll be able to sort of indicate what breakout room you want to go to so that you can spend some more time with one of our guests. You can ask them follow-up questions. You can try to get their LinkedIn information so that you can network with them. Katie Jo's putting up our Instagram link in our chat right now. So I do want to just acknowledge it's week 9 of this strange spring term. And I know everyone is starting to get into final exams, final projects, thinking about graduation, thinking about next steps. So I want to just send you good, positive vibes. I want to remind you to be healthy, to be making sure that you're taking care of yourself so that you can make it through these last couple of weeks of spring term. And it is making it through these last couple of weeks of spring term. I'm so amazed when I talk to students about the different experiences that they've been having and how resilient they've been and how they've been really still successful as they move through the last couple of weeks of this really strange term. So we do have, as I mentioned, some guests, and I wanted to introduce them and make sure that you could see them. Their cameras are on, so you're able to kind of get to know them a little bit. First, I wanted to introduce Alwab, who is a student that I've known for a number of years, who's a double duck. Graduated from the University of Oregon in 2014 in International Studies, and then completed a master's degree in 2017 from the Conflict and Dispute Resolution Program. It is now living and working in Eugene. He's been a success story for many of us for many years, and we're just really glad to have him on the program today. Awab, thanks for joining us. Yeah, good. We've got another student, Boyan Yang, who graduated from the U of O in 2018 in the accounting field and is now working for a major accounting firm in the US and is here to share his experiences with, approaching graduation, job searching, OPT, all of those sorts of moments that many of you will be facing. And just joining us, I see Maria Laura has joined us. Hi, Maria Laura, another alum that I've known for many years and have really come to appreciate her coming back to campus and giving us her insight on a regular basis. So Maria Laura graduated from Computer Information Science in 2018 and is currently working at Uber down in the Bay Area. And is utilizing her CIS degree directly and has really told me on various occasions how awesome it is that she's been moving into her field in a meaningful way. We have a U of Oregon expert with us. Zara Pastos is, I want to get her title exactly right, Career Readiness Coordinator. Is that right, Zara?
Career Readiness Coach.
Career readiness coach. I was so close. But Zara works for the Career Center at the University of Oregon and coaches and counsels and supports countless students every year, including international students, as they start to think about how they're going to make this transition. So we really welcome her expertise, and we'll be sure to give her some time to speak about what she thinks grads should be thinking about. But again, I wanted to welcome you all. Thanks for joining us. The Global Cafe Series is a program that we're doing bi-weekly, trying to bring you relevant information in this new virtual world, trying to connect you to experts in topics that you care about, trying to connect you to alum that are out there doing the things that you want to do, and their dogs, apparently, Mariela, or connecting people with dogs too. That's a beautiful pup. And just wanting to, you know, continue to connect with you and give you information that you're going to find valuable. So I think I'll start off. You know, it's always good to get some personal experiences. Boyan, do you want to talk a little bit first about, you know, if you think back to your senior year at the U of O and you're just getting ready to graduate and there's this daunting task of thinking about what comes after graduation day. Can you tell us a little bit about your thoughts? What were you, you know, what were you facing at that time, and how did you kind of work through that process?
Yeah, definitely. So I still remember my my emotion, my process back in that time, because like approaching graduation, I was nervous. I think many people are, no matter what situation they might facing. But for me, it's like, to figure out my strategy to keep a right mindset is more important than other skills. I keep telling myself being an international student is not a disadvantage. Rather, I'm telling other people saying, hey, I do have virtual, you know, culture background. I may offer some different thoughts and also bilingual, you know, so many advantageous things I need to bring up instead of letting, you know, working visa or other stuff to stop me. That's the first step I had back my time. And then I'm just keep motivating myself to apply as much as I can, no matter that opportunity maybe is that best one or the you know, second best one for me. That really doesn't matter for me, because I wanted to try and I wanted to figure out, you know, after I working for that job, maybe something will happen, you know, maybe something after some time I find out, oh, that's the right path for me. So I definitely don't want to give up by applying at the first point. Yeah, that's pretty much like, I wanted to, you know, give this start instead of by giving a specific tip. I wanted to say, like, to everyone, international student, I know the market is down right now. Thousands of people might maybe get laid off or whatever. That's the truth. That's a fact. Our firm is one of the big four public accounting firm in the world. We used to have a great model, but right now in our service line, we also have pay cut. We also have, you know, layoff that happens. But also keep in mind, no matter how difficult the situation are, just stay positive and looking for, there are also opportunities, and don't be, you know, disencouraged by any of those negative factors, and try to focus on more on bright side. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. I really like the positivity, keeping an open mind. And I really like the way that you talk about thinking about being an international student as being an asset, right? About having additional skills that are specialized that other people don't have that you can leverage and think about. So that's great. That's great.
Thank you.
Awab, I wonder if I can turn to you. You know, as you think about that time in your life that you were a senior, you're thinking about, you know, graduation and next steps. You know, what were the biggest hurdles that you faced? What do you think was the most difficult part of that moment, and how did you make your way through that?
So I think the most difficult part of getting through graduation and then OPT was figuring out a plan, because initially when I was studying international studies, I believe, and reflecting on it now, I had unrealistic dreams of like completely transitioning into an international non-governmental organization or something that's working in policy on an international level. But that, you know, as soon as I graduated, I mean, in my last year, I started researching them, and I found out that they have such high requirements that a fresh graduate with zero experience is not going to fit in there just yet. And so when I did that research, I discovered that maybe just getting the bare minimum of experience and working through OPT as an asset to prepare me for grad school, because that's going to be probably the next step that's going to get me where I want it to be. And so I think I made the right decision. I took a couple of opportunities during OPT and then transitioned to grad school, which was my next goal. So I changed my goal during my last year based on the research I've made.
Yeah, yeah, it is pretty common. I hear that when international students first start off, they have an idea, they realize that they need to shift their idea a little bit and adapt, and then they have to, you know, think about what's realistic and then think about kind of what their next step is. Yeah, I think that's a really realistic way to see it.
Yeah.
Maria Laura, I wonder if I can ask you a little bit, right? Here you are graduating from CIS. I remember when you were a student and you were spending hours and hours and hours on your projects and your homework, and the CIS major is known to be very challenging at the University of Oregon. And I remember seeing you on graduation day, and then I remember hearing a couple of months later that you were moving down to the Bay Area. But what was going on for you during that time? What were some of the strategies that you employed to make sure, you know, that you stayed focused and driven and accomplished the goals that you set out to accomplish?
I had this, that's a good question. Thank you. I had sort of this like visualization in my head of how I planned out my career to be. And surprisingly, it was very bold, but I sort of made it work. But at the same time, like now looking back and I think about it, and even now like working as an engineer in the Bay Area, I think it's important to be driven and have goals and like find motivation, whether it's like applying to jobs or like creating your own personal projects to do that. But I think like now looking back and being a little bit more mature, it's like allow yourself to be flexible and to let life happen how it happens. COVID probably makes it harder maybe to like focus on your career or focusing on finding jobs or even like finding opportunities. And try like that does it's not inherently a bad thing. Maybe it means that you're sent on a different path and new opportunities will happen. And so I think about my experience here too, and it's like I was so like set on, I'm like I need to work for a big company, I need to intern, and then I need to do this. And thankfully I was at a time where that was sort of possible, but I try to think like what if that wouldn't happen? Like you just have to learn and adapt to the environment and use it to your advantage in a way.
No, really, really good thoughts about being persistent, being driven, but then also having an element of flexibility. No, really, really important. Zara, if we can turn to you, you know, you've worked for years with students and helping them understand how to prepare for this moment. You know, what are some of the common questions that international students ask you when they come in and ask about their next steps? And what's the best advice that you think can help international students do what they want to do?
Yeah, one of my liaison areas in the Career Center is working with international students, so I do see a lot of them. And I think, you know, sometimes there's that barrier being in a new culture, trying to figure out the system, like how do you network for a job? You know, what's going to make me stand out to make myself marketable for a job when I'm competing with domestic students, Americans, for the same jobs? And I think the biggest piece of advice I can give is to really take advantage of all of those opportunities, especially when you're on campus, to get involved, because employers are mostly looking for what kind of experience do you have outside of academics? Yes, your degree counts, but what else are you doing to get those transferable skills? You're communicating because you're coming from different cultures, right? So you have great communication skills, a great cultural awareness, you know how to navigate different cultures. So really being aware, like those three speakers just talked about. I'm really inspired by them. Being aware of what you bring as an international student and being able to tell your story. Your story is unique, and really owning your story, getting in touch with what your values are, your strengths, what you're really interested in, and being able to package yourself to make yourself unique for a position. So all those things that you're doing while in school, but they continue lifelong. You know, my story is I used to be a teacher for 20 years. I taught English to speakers of other languages, and I just transitioned into this position at the Career Center 2 years ago. So I had to kind of reinvent myself and think about what transferable skills do I have as a teacher. I know how to collaborate, I know how to communicate, I know how to problem solve and think critically. So these are all transferable skills. So you really have to think about what is your skill set and what makes you unique, and package that in a way that's really going to make you stand out to employers. And the other thing is networking. Everybody I talk to, all the webinars I go to, keep talking about it. It's so important, especially in this virtual world, to network. Think about your peers, like we have speaking here today. Those are your peers. They're your mentors. Listen to their advice. Keep in touch with them. Keep in touch with people that you live with, your instructors, all of your mentors, your advisors, your family friends. Those are all part of your network. Keep in touch with them, because at some point later on in your life, they could be a really good resource to help get you to the next point in your career exploration.
Yeah, really, really good advice. I want to be sensitive. I think, Awab, I know you might have to leave a little bit early. Is that right?
I can actually stay until like 3:30, maybe a little bit after.
Okay.
So a
Okay.
little bit more, yeah.
I wanted to circle back to just, you know, you're the one here that sort of made graduate school a part of your plan. And I wondered if we could talk a little bit about, you know, the career move isn't the only thing, right, that you can do. You can think about other options, and you can use them as bridges, right, to be able to get to the next space that you wanted to get to. So I just wanted to acknowledge that you know, your path that you took, your original plan wasn't to do graduate school, but then it became a part of your plan, and it brought you in a completely different direction. So I think that's a really important variable that I want people to remember, that you can use more than one pathway to get where you're going. But Awab, I also wanted to sort of say, in the video that you pre-recorded and that we put up online, you offered kind of bits of advice for people. So I wondered if you could elaborate on those just a little bit and say, you know, if you had to give an international student that's graduating spring term 2020, you know, a little bit of advice, what would you say to them?
Sure. So I would echo also what my peers said in terms of advice, of being flexible, patient, and, you know, be open towards changing plans, like I said earlier. But for this class, you know, everybody's saying, nobody's denying it's going to be challenging, but hopefully we'll get through this. I know hopefully things are going to get better soon. So if there are some changing in plans, such as, you know, taking an opportunity that's not exactly your plan, like one of the things that I did, which was not directly related necessarily, but don't hold that against me in OPT rules. It's I took like a translation job for an online company. And it was not very good in career move, but because I didn't find anything else where I wanted to go, I ended up using it as a huge asset in my work with the government. Currently, you know, as you may know, I work for the state government as a program analyst ombudsman. And so that was, it's a job that usually takes you about sometimes 10 to 15 years through the state government to get to. But then I used all these little pieces of experience, the international one, the translation and language ones. So if you're still in school, and you, for example, you know your major, but you have some extra credits to take, I would suggest doing something that's marketable, like either a skill, whether it's like budgeting, accounting, or like languages. And I focused on languages. So I used that with the government as a key to get into the state. And then I took an entry job level with the state, and it took me only 1 year to transition to an analyst position. which is one that could take several years for people to transition through. So that's in a nutshell, and I can address it more. But yeah, hopefully that answers your question, Abe.
Yeah, it does. It does. Thanks. Maria Laura, I'm curious. If you could go back in time and talk to yourself as a senior at the University of Oregon, what would you tell yourself in this topic as you were worried about kind of what was next? What do you think you would say to yourself, to your younger self?
Oops. Yeah. Trying to think. I think at that time, I think I saw like US as my only choice where I could work as a professional. Especially, I'm from Venezuela and it's a third world country, and I didn't want to go back there for a while. But in my head, it's like, okay, I need to get an internship, or I need to get this 6-figure salary job so I could get a visa so I can do this. And I think that put a lot of pressure on myself. And since I moved to the Bay Area the last couple of years, because even when you get a job, that's not like the end. You still need to apply for a visa. There's a lottery, and then there's a green card. It's such a long process. And I think if I could go back and tell myself something, it's just like, hey, it's okay if the US doesn't work out, if that your plan A doesn't work out. There's so many other countries that you could work in, and you have like the skill set to make it happen anywhere. So don't be too hard on yourself if that doesn't happen. I'm fortunate that it did, but even when I was applying for like the H-1B here, there's a chance I wouldn't get the lottery. And in my head, I was just trying to see like, oh, okay, what are my alternatives? What are some good things if I went and lived in Europe? Like, oh, maybe I would get to travel more often or see some friends and family I hadn't seen in a while. So I would say that, just be like a little bit less hard on myself.
I'm pretty sure I told you that back in the day, Maria Laura.
Yeah.
It
got through my brain.
That's true. Sometimes that happens.
The hard way.
No, that's great. That's great. Boyan, I wanted to ask you, and actually, Amos, you submitted a really timely question, because I was going to say, you know, one of the most challenging things people have is one of the barriers is communicating with a potential employer. So, you know, talking about yourself, talking about your work authorization, talking about these really technical immigration rules that people worry that it's going to turn an employer off, right? Because it's just a complication. But can you talk a little bit about like what strategy did you use to talk to prospective employers and be able to communicate that, you know, that you do have a different skill set that you can leverage that will be good for the company?
Yeah, sure. I think the last sentence you said is very important. Like, before I communicate with them about anything about OPT or H-1B or sponsorship, I just wanted to make sure they understand I can contribute. So I wanted to let them know, okay, here's some experience I had, and I'm pretty sure I could be a good fit for your company. And that's the first part I wanted to make sure they accept and they're interested in me, so to be part of their team. And to more specifically, to communicate with their team members, I remember I learned a lot from ISSS OPT workshops. I attend like, I guess probably more than 3 workshops in my, because I've been working on Career Center, I've been hosting with that, with the ISSS. I want to say I'm learning new stuff every time I attend. And I've been training how to communicate with them in professional terms. Like, for example, like to say OPT is the best resource for international students to work here for 1 year and for STEM students 3 years. Okay, sorry, maybe a little bit misordered. And back to how to contribute to your company, that could be really, you know, depends on different career, depends on different people. But the goal is, if you wanted to contribute, if you wanted to prove you can contribute, the best way is internship. I personally, I think internship is give you a relatively longer period to show your ability, and also can prove what you said during the interview is true. And that's how I got my offer. I got my offer actually in summer start, and which caused I may waste my half-year OPT. And that's the part I utilize my, negotiation or communication skill to talk with the employer to say, hey, I really want to join your firm, but my OPT would waste half year if you want me to join with other normal people start class. So I'm the only person in my class starting in winter, which is make me fully utilize my OPT. And also I'm giving myself a backup plan. If I didn't get H-1B, lottery or anything, I can at least have half year to prove, to build connection with my team member and also to prove I have ability to working in this accounting firm. They may thinking about transferring me to other country, Canada or back to China. They have multiple offices in those countries, so maybe I can be worked for. I want to say the details could be different for everyone, but the goal is try to speak up. And in this career, I learned is if you don't speak up, no one gonna speak up for you. You need to speak up for yourself, and you need to thinking the path for yourself, give yourself a backup plan. But also the most importantly thing is don't be offense to other people. It's not like, hey, I have to have this OPT, you have to arrange me to other office if I don't get this. Not like that way, but a different way saying, hey, I wanted to be on your team. I wanted to working with, motivated people in this company. And I feel like I can contribute. This is my passion, dream job. And that's a way people feel like, hey, yes, over the past year, I like to working with this intern dude. Maybe we can think about how to keep him. So that's the process I've been through. And I can definitely talk about more like after this, and we can build connection, LinkedIn, every international students, we can, discuss more after this. Thanks.
No, that's great. That's great. I know we've got some questions coming in on the chat, so that's great. And I want to make sure that we take a lot of time to process those. There's even a question come in because we're going there's a Facebook live streaming of this right now too. But before we get to, we'll just have one more question I'd like to direct at Zara. Zara, as you think about, right, an international student moving from graduation into OPT and looking for an H-1B has been stressful forever. Now in 2020, you have a virtual work environment, a virtual interview environment, a virtual, lifestyle, and we're potentially facing a significant economic recession that's going to limit jobs. Let's be honest, we're also facing a current political administration that isn't exactly friendly to the international student experience and is not making things easier for international students to get jobs. So as international students face additional barriers than ever, more than ever, what do you think is important as they face some of these unique COVID-related job search times?
Yeah, that's a big question. I guess one thing I can say that I know about working with international students is that you're very resilient. You have to work twice as hard as a lot of Americans, to learn the language, learn the culture, to network and do all of that. And so you've got to be confident in your skills. And beyond that, I think the world has changed. Some of the systems that weren't working before are being revealed now that things aren't going to be the same anymore. And I think some of the inequities and things that weren't working before are really evident now. And so you have to get creative. There are going to be opportunities out there. They're just getting shaped in different ways. So you have to get creative, and I think really rely on your entrepreneurial skills. Like how can you pitch an idea to a company that they may not have thought of in that way before. I think Gen Z is really creative. They're going to just become great leaders in our new generation. And so I think what you can be doing now to take advantage of this online world we're in is go to these webinars. We have a lot of free events on our career platform Handshake you can sign up for about, what does the world look like now in different industries, the job market. You can chat with alumni, do that kind of networking. I'll include some, I have a whole document with some different websites and great articles to read. I'll include that later here in the Zoom chat. But there's so many skills you can be working on and building. Like on LinkedIn, you can try premium for free for a month, and you can take online classes and get certifications that you put on your resume and on your LinkedIn and Handshake profiles. So there's a lot you can be doing virtually right now. And micro internships is something I keep hearing about. So Parker Dewey is one of the companies that's offering a lot of those. You can sign up for a free account, and you just apply for a small project with a company. It might even be just like a 10-hour project, but that you get paid for, and you're gaining skills, and it might be a good foot in the door for that organization, and they see how good of a worker you are. So there's a lot of free opportunities, and I think because this generation is so tech savvy, I think that's really going to work to your advantage. If you can just think about, again, what skills do I bring, and how can I connect that to what the world needs right now? If you can be really innovative and creative in that way, I think you're our future. That's what we need right now. So just think creatively, think outside the box. I just went to a webinar this morning that was really relevant. It was 4 really successful career people who had all graduated from college in the recession of 2008. And they talked about what did they do during that time to think about how they could market themselves in different ways. And they all got really creative. They kind of built their own job descriptions and were able to pitch that to different organizations that they wanted to work for. And so I think if you can think creatively and collaborate with different types of industries, different people, the more networking you can do and really show what you can do, I think that's gonna kind of help you develop your own position within the type of career path that you want to be part of.
Yeah, that's really good, Zara. Thank you for your thoughts on that. It's a big topic. Excuse me, and I agree with you that I've always been amazed at the creativity and the leadership that international students have shown in breaking new ground and being innovative, and how that may be more important than ever, to be thinking, out of the box and talking to your employer about what you can bring to them as far as how to respond to this new this new reality that we're all in now. Well, good. I know the questions are starting to build up. But we also have some time limitations. So I'm thinking Sarah Clark, my colleague from the Mills International Center, joins us for the Global Cafe to kind of help sort us into some breakout rooms to talk about particular things. So Sarah, I'll hand it over to you. I know that you might be able to group some of these questions in some particular ways, and then give some people some ideas about how they can get into small breakout rooms so that they can interact with Buyan, Awab, Maria Laura, and Zara more personally.
Yeah, thank you so much, Abe. That is exactly what I hope we can do. Since people have oh, I'm on mute. No, I'm not on mute. You can see me. I want to give people the opportunity to ask those questions directly to the person that they're interested in hearing from. But to know who you might want to be in a small group with to ask more questions, I think if we could just hear briefly from our special guests, a couple quick responses, kind of go around about some of these questions that came in the chat. So about, are you on an H-1B work visa? Are you in a different field than what you studied? And anything else that you kind of want to say. So let's just do a go around. Awab, do you want to start us off?
Sure. So currently I'm not on H-1B visa, but I'm on track for permanent residency. And the field that I ended up choosing is different from the one that I had thought of in undergrad. But then after grad school, it's exactly what I wanted to do.
Great.
And I guess I can go next. Last year I was a OPT and I've been through the H-1B process. This year I'm an H-1B visa. The field of study, I was an accounting major and I'm pretty interested in finance related stuff. And now I'm working for an accounting firm.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
I guess for me, so I studied computer science and I started on OPT and I got into the lottery the first year with Uber, and now I'm on H-1B and starting application for green card. Hopefully we will see. But yeah, I stayed within my same field, but I also have some experience what it's like to work in tech companies. It's not only software engineers that they hire, a lot of different careers and professions. So
great, thank you. And for folks that are watching on Facebook Live, we will be ending the live stream when we move into the small group so people can kind of answer and ask questions as they wish. So if the link to the Zoom is in the Facebook event on the UO International Student and Scholar Services page. So feel free to pop on into the Zoom now. And just to shift our attention as we move from kind of hearing a bunch of information to thinking about connecting in those smaller groups and to guide our conversations, I just want everyone to just take a moment to kind of refocus your attention and check in with yourself. What are you feeling right now? Take a breath. What is on your mind? And with about 12 minutes to engage with another couple humans, what would you like out of that time? Do you want to just connect? Like, I don't need to worry about the OPT things right now. I just want to talk to a human. Do you have a specific question that's burning there? Like, if I don't get this answered right now, that's what you want to be able to talk to. You want to talk to Abe about this thing. Or maybe you want to network with alumni without any particular agenda, but just that it would be nice. Like, oh yeah, that LinkedIn suggestion, like I would like to connect. So for folks that are watching live, thanks for joining us. We're going to end the recording right now. Please feel free to continue to ask questions in the comments on the events, and we can continue to respond to those. And stay tuned to the International Student and Scholar Services social media accounts to get updates on additional important information in upcoming events.